Amherst County School Board to order. I saw, before we go into our moment of silence, Pledge of Allegiance, I do want to take a moment to remember Mr. Donald Wayne, who was one of our employees who passed away during the holiday break, as well as another one of our employees, Miss Christy Bartholomew. She lost her husband within the past couple weeks due to some long-term illness. So we want to keep those folks in their mind and their families in our thoughts and prayers as we go into the moment of silence. So let's all rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Ms. Thompson on the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Rossi, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Thank you. First item on the agenda after that is under Section 2, reorganize the board. We need to elect a board chair. So, board, it's your turn to elect a chair.
I would like to nominate Mr. Terry as our board chair again. I think he's done a wonderful job, and we've had a successful year, so I don't know if he's willing to accept that, but anyway, that would be my nomination.
I'll second it.
Are there any other nominations for chair? All right, being there's a nomination and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Terry.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Got the gavel.
Thank you, Board, for that vote of confidence. So now we're going to move on to 2.02, election of a vice chair.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
and congratulations.
Thank you.
I would like to elect as our vice chair Ms. Thompson, who continues to do a great job. You two together have a good duo going on. So I would like to nominate Ms. Thompson to continue as the vice chair of this board.
We have a motion.
I second it.
Have a second. Any other nominations? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. None opposed. Okay,
Congrats.
all righty. Dr. Wells,
Student of the month.
3.01.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's my honor to recognize our students of the month for the month of December. And we'll go down by schools. We'll start with Amherst County High School. And we have Ms. Reagan Tyree. Reagan, come on forward. And you get to stand here in front of everybody.
You are now the center of attention.
Reagan is an exceptional student who is heavily involved in extracurricular activities in addition to excelling in academics. Reagan has exceptional grades and had perfect attendance for the second 9 weeks. She's also one of our stars in advanced theater arts class, where they took home first place in the sub-region competition and second place in the region. Reagan has also won 3 individual awards during these shows. Reagan is also an integral part of the Amarecos, where they will begin their show choir season soon. Reagan is also simply a great person. Her teacher stated that she is always helpful and positive in every situation. So congratulations. Next, from Amherst Education Center, we have Jasmine Walks. She's not here. I'll read her statement. Jasmine was selected because of her consistent positivity, effort to complete her assignments correctly, level of accountability, and ability to receive constructive criticism. Additionally, Jasmine's maturity level is admirable. She addresses all staff respectfully, with a smile, and regardless of anything else that may be going on, she remains organized and focused on being successful here so she can return to the high school for the second semester. All right, next from Amherst Middle School, Liliana Fickle. Not here? All right. So the Star Student of the Month for December at Amherst Middle School is Liliana Fickle. Liliana is an 8th grade student who has been a star student at Amherst Middle School since she arrived in 6th grade. Her positive attitude, strong work ethic, and desire to excel have made her one of the most delightful students that I've had the privilege to work with. She is an incredible young lady with the potential to make the world a better place. Amherst Middle School is proud to recognize Liliana as the December Star Student of the Month. Manelson Middle School, Kaylin Ramsey. Come on down. All right. Congratulations. You can stand here. Kaylin is an amazing student. She is very helpful and is very confident in who she is and what she stands for. Her teachers all echo that she works hard, comes in with a smile, and never minds to help other students. She really is like a beam of sunshine every day. She is responsible, diligent, mannerable, and a role model for all the students here at Manelson. Congratulations. Amelon Elementary, Grayson Harrell. Grayson? Grayson comes in each day ready to learn and truly soaks in every moment of learning. He amazes his teacher each day with how much he listens and remembers little tips, tricks, songs, patterns, and stories used in lessons. He is a student who enjoys both the classroom as well as playing and talking with his friends and demonstrates self-control in order to fully enjoy both. Congratulations to Grayson. Amherst Elementary School, Maurice Banks. Mrs. Johnson states Maurice is always following directions. He is respectful to his classmates and teachers. He is also responsible and keeps up with his belongings. Maurice was also nominated by Mrs. Wells, who co-teaches in his classes. Mrs. Wells states Maurice is focused, responsible, and accountable every day. He is kind and respectful to his classmates and teachers. He follows the rules at all times and sets a perfect example of how an AES Panther should be each and every day at school. Congratulations. Central Elementary, Wyatt Lloyd. It's getting full. Kind of balance it out. Wyatt exemplifies kindness. He is always respectful, diligent, and caring towards teachers and classmates. Additionally, he magnifies integrity and intelligence as a student, showcasing responsibility and excellence in learning. Congratulations. Elin Elementary, Evelyn Metter. Evelyn? Evelyn has shined by being kind to her peers and by giving her best effort in all she does. She is always going above and beyond to show her learning. Congratulations to Evelyn. Madison Heights Elementary School, Michaela Clements. Right here, that's fine. Michaela is very kind and courteous to others. She works hard each day to put forth her best effort. Oftentimes, you will find Michaela helping others without being asked to do so. We are so lucky to have her as part of the school community. Congratulations, Michaela. And Temperance Elementary, Ms. Lila Stennett. Lila comes to school every day prepared and ready to learn. She works hard and is resilient in her efforts to better herself through education. She is friendly and helpful to those around her. Congratulations. So parents, what we'll do is we'll take a picture of everybody together, and then Ms. McNerney will send it to the principals, and we'll get it to y'all so you can have a picture of this event tonight as well, okay? We'll get a quick picture real quick. Mr. Terry?
Happy New Year.
Littlest to the biggest.
It's probably the best part of the meeting right there.
Yeah, that's the highlight of the night.
Kelly with his little baby.
And if our other student does show, we'll go ahead and recognize her. Thank y'all for being here.
Okay, all right. So moving on to 4.01, public comment. Currently, we have one person signed up, Mr. Porter. Good evening.
2024. Hi, my name is Jeff Porter. I live at 478 Woody's Lake Road, Madison Heights. I have three things that I'd like to talk with you about briefly. I really like having student recognition time. I think that's really helpful. My hope is that over time, one of the things that we would value and name is curiosity. I think it's important for students to be curious about things, to ask questions, to be able to look at what is quoted as facts and begin to explore that and actually see whether it's true or not. Because we live in a time in which there is, for a lot of people, much to be afraid of. And fear is usually based on a lie. So I would encourage that curiosity not only be for students, but especially for you as board members. Be curious about things. Just because you hear it, explore it, have fun with it, find out what's true. Secondly, I've been coming here for a couple of years now. You're probably well known of me. I have found it very helpful when you all speak into the microphone. And when you speak, I don't need necessarily volume, but I do need clarity. So if you're a little hesitant or if you're fast of speech, help me out. Because one of the things I found out is that as I listen to people who listen to what's going on here afterward, they oftentimes cannot hear what's being said. You're working for the public. We need to hear what you say, what you think. We need to hear what you find important as well. And finally, I'm here as an advocate for children and for our school district. I love to go places, and I do go places, and talk very highly of what's going on in the school district, about your leadership as a board and your leadership as school district people. I'm an advocate, but I'm also curious. So sometimes you might be bugged by my curiosity. That's okay. I can live with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So that's the only one we had signed up ahead of time. Is anyone from the audience who care to approach the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. 5.01, Dr. Wells?
So 5.01, reorganization of the board, and
Yes.
I believe 5.01 is basically looking at all of our positions.
Okay.
So in essence of time, you could just go ahead and approve A through G versus doing each one individually for 5.01. So if you want to approve, again, Ms. McNerney and myself as clerk and deputy clerk and down the list, you could just approve A through G.
Okay. Board, anything? Any questions there? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve A through G under section 5.01.
Okay, we have a motion?
Second?
We have a second? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
All right.
Next, we have representative for Laurel Regional Board. Do I have any motions for members there?
So, Mr. Chair, we did put who was the current serving people there, so you know who's currently serving.
Okay.
And that's Ms. Ligon as that, and Ms. Alternate is Ms. Justice.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Make
I'd-
a motion.
you make a motion,
Ms. Laurel,
okay,
Don as the backup.
okay. We have a motion, can I get a second?
We need to do
We have to
the Ms. Ligon.
do them both separate?
individually,
Okay,
And then have a motion for the,
for the alternate? Okay,
the primary first and alternates. They have
Okay.
two separate motions.
that's fine. So,
Priscilla is.
rise your motion, okay,
I second that.
okay. All in favor of the current motion? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, can I get a motion for our alternate?
Sorry. Can I make a motion that Don Justice be the alternate for the Laurel?
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion? Can I get a second?
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, none opposed. Next. So the next is VSBA,
The VSBA delegate.
okay?
Currently, you have Ms. Ligon as the primary and Ms. Thompson as the alternate.
Okay. Can I get a motion on the primary?
Primary?
I move to nominate Ms. Ligon for VSBA delegate.
Okay, so we have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor of Ms. Ligon as the primary?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. The alternate, we need a motion for our alternate.
I'd like to make a motion for Mrs. Justice to be the alternate.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Okay. Next, we have the Governor's School. Ms. Justice, and who was the alternate?
Ms. Justice is current, and Mrs. Thompson was the alternate.
Okay. So can I get a motion for our Gov School representative?
Motion, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Justice, continue.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second?
Okay. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? And we need a motion for our alternate.
I'll make a motion that Lori Saunders.
Okay. Can I get a second to that motion?
Second.
Second?
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Congratulations, Ms. Saunders. Next is our Regional STEM Academy.
And that's Mr. Arasi, currently as primary, and Mrs. Berg was the alternate.
Okay. Okay. So, can I get a motion for our STEM Academy?
Make a motion to nominate David.
David Childers? Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
I nominate Mr. Rossi to be the alternate for STEM.
Can't get away from it. So we have a motion, and I get a second.
I'll second that.
Okay? All in favor? Aye. Okay. I think that's all of them.
That's all of them, yes, sir. Okay, next we have the consent agenda.
Okay.
Chairman, I move to consent agenda be approved.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I get a second for the consent agenda?
A second?
Okay. Motion and a second. Do you have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have to abstain from that, but if it includes the minutes from the previous meeting, because I can't approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
With one abstain. and that's
With one
Mr.
abstain.
Childers. Okay.
Okay. All right. Moving on to 7.01, School Board Policy Committee.
Correct. So last month, it was on the agenda. We pulled it from the agenda last month, and Ms. Thompson, I believe, is going to lead this discussion. So, Ms. Thompson.
Well, I know that we had approved, I think it was in November, that we
Yes.
would do a trial run for a year on a policy committee. And I talked with Dr. Wells last couple of months and felt like that we needed to have some kind of guidelines or something for the committee to operate under. So Dr. Wells has graciously typed up in your packet just some of the things that he and I have talked about. One, what type of committee that it would be, and it would be a special committee because it's only for a year. And we can, I believe, according to the attorney, we can change it at the end of the year. If we want to make it a standing committee, we can, but at the moment, it would be classified as a special committee. Just for clarity, we had talked about having 2 board members on there because 2 board members are not a voting board. And of course, we would want the superintendent there. And we thought that it would be appropriate for, the staff that the superintendent thought would be applicable to that particular policy, if there was a policy. So that's where we came up with these 3 bullets for committee members. And of course, this would be for a year. They would serve on there for a year, just our recommendations and our thoughts. And the committee members, we could possibly do either appointed by the chair in collaboration with the vice chair, or we could recommend that the vice chair would collaborate and maybe recommend to the board 2 members, and then the board would take that recommendation and would vote on it, or that they could make their own changes if they wish, but have some type of recommendation from the chair. So these are just things that we want to discuss and maybe clarify tonight. We wanted to make sure that it was clear that the committee itself would have, and those board members would have no authority to approve or disapprove policy. Those recommendations or changes would be brought to us as a board, and the full board would have the power to, veto or to approve, as we always have. So what would the committee be doing? They would be making, the items for review, that the items for the committee to review or to consider would come from the chair, from the school board, or the superintendent. So, for example, we might receive some policy from the VSBA. The board may want to direct the committee to take one of them up with the superintendent and his staff and to work on it. So it would come from the full board. Or it might be something that the superintendent, in preparation to bring us policy, might say, well, I think that we need to look at this one a little bit more carefully, and might want to convene the committee to work before they present the policy to us. Or it could be something that the chair feels like needs to be reviewed. But it wouldn't be something that the 2 people that were on the committee would just pick it up and do it on their own. It would come from the chair, the superintendent, or the full board. So these are just, again, our ideas for talking points for us. And then the action of the committee would be to research or to draft or to edit new existing or recommended policy. So these were just the thoughts that we did when we were brainstorming, wanted to know what your thoughts are on how that committee might operate to its fullest and be a good working committee for us as a board.
I mean, I think it looks like a good start. It's something we want to try for a year and see how it goes. I think it's a first good start. So,
Now,
anything else from the board?
we would have to change our policy to allow this board to happen, right?
No, Dr. Welsh, you may be able to address that better than I can,
Not for a
but no.
special committee. It's a
Okay.
one-year special committee. Now, if we made it a standing committee, we would have to,
We would have to amend it.
Right.
Amend policy.
how this is written as a special would just be a committee of 2 board members will be called as as whenever the board said there was a need to look at the policy. So it wouldn't be a standing committee, it's just a special committee.
So would the committee change based on policy? If it, like, let's say the policy would directly affect transportation, would,
As is written here, the 2 board members would remain the same. However,
Right.
who I would bring from my departments would change based on the policy. So if it was an HR policy, I would bring Mr. Gallagher and somebody from his team. If it were a transportation policy, it'd be Dr. Hoden would come with me. So who I would bring to the table may change, but the 2 board members for that year would be, as decided on by you as the board, would be those 2 members for the year. As it's written right here. Now, y'all have, this is just.
Right. This is the first
just
step.
The
Right,
drafts. I
right.
mean, y'all have the option to change it how you want to change it. That's just how this is written, that's how it would work.
right, so it won't be necessarily the same people in the special committee for every question. And it won't be every policy.
It'd
Am
be
I
the s-
understanding it correct?
Right, it'd be only the same 2 board members for the 12-month cycle. Dr. Wells would bring the specialist to be able to speak intelligently on the situations that arise.
And
Right.
it'd just be the policies that, as a board, or the chair, or myself would want to bring forward. So if I were writing a policy, I may want to bring a new policy to the committee first before I brought it to the whole board. Or if you had a question about a policy as a board, you could direct us to look at that policy in more depth and give you some more information on it. So it wouldn't be, but as this is written, the 2 people on the committee would not have the authority just to start reviewing policy at will. It'd be directed by the whole board.
All right.
Yeah.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So, as it's written, all policy that comes each month would still be coming
Yes.
regardless.
Yes.
With our current policy and practice, every month, every board member is intended to look at policy. Is there any reason that by adopting this as the way it's written, that, say, 2 weeks before the board meeting, I don't know when you normally get the policy updates for the coming board meeting, but that committee could see the policy before the agenda, just so they have the time to
Well,
review?
what I would recommend from there would
Yeah.
be that when we get the updates from VSBA or other policy writers across the state, that we would get them, we would present them to the board as we do. And then if the board so chose to have one of those policies or more policies looked at in more detail, then at that board meeting, you could direct the committee to look at policy A, B, or C, or and say, I want you, as a board, we would like more information on this. So you might have some that are just changing the date, those minor things that wouldn't need to be looked at. But if there's something that y'all felt needed more information on, as a board, you could tell the committee, I'd like for y'all to look at this in more depth and give us a report on this for the next board meeting before making a decision.
I think my only thought, Mr. Chair, on that is when I had suggested it originally, the idea was to help expedite a little. So I don't know, I mean, this gives more time to look at it more in-depthly. I don't know if it would improve delays or not. So that's just my thought. I'd be interested in knowing what the board thought about it being available each month. Would that make it a standing committee?
That makes it a standing committee.
That makes it a standing committee, and you would have to change the policy then. Which if it didn't, pardon me?
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
ma'am?
if I may, I don't
Yes, ma'am.
think that was the intention, though.
Excuse me,
I don't
say it
think
again.
that's the intention. I don't think it's the intention for this committee to look at things, we all read them prior, but to
Right.
not to make any decisions before it
Right.
comes to the board. Otherwise, I'm not gonna vote for it.
Right.
This is if we have the policy in front of us, and a suggestion is made for the members of this committee to do research, as it says here, research and all these scenarios, edit, draft, but not to take it off the top.
Right, no.
So it's not about expediting. Not really, it's about, we all gonna see it, otherwise
Yes.
we're not doing our job. Kind of, if I may say what the former member said here, this is a good idea if it's done the right way. But it's not for this board, this committee, to take the forerunner on anything.
Right.
If we say tonight we're gonna let them look into what color the bus garage should be painted, then we said to do it. They don't come to us and say, well, we've decided that the bus garage is red.
No, I,
I wanna get that straight.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Right.
correct.
Otherwise, this is, So this takes, if we do it the other way, it takes the power, I don't like that word, it takes the
Authority.
authority away from the board.
So-
Am I right?
Yes.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes, yes,
I
sir.
think we could also look at it, you all get the policies on the first read.
Yep.
And so I give them to you first read, I give them to you at least a week to 2 weeks out when I present policy, the big batch of policy we get from the SBA, right? So you get that as first read. I think what I would say, if you want to go this route as a board, then at first read, when we come back at the meeting, that first read, you could say, okay, I'm not sure about this policy, and maybe 2 or 3 policies you have questions about. And then you could tell the committee, I want you to look at those 3 policies, and then we could do more research on those policies. So when we come back on second read, you could have a report with more information on it as to the ins and outs, and maybe feel better as a board about what the policy may or may not entail. So that's how I would see it, not as an overall, we review every policy, that's different. But if there's policies you have questions about, or if you deem as a board you would like us to develop a policy for a certain thing, then that's when this committee would be working.
Yeah. So I look at it as, it's a committee that, like I said, when a policy comes up that we're first read, it's going to be a little more challenging, a little more to it than just our, baseline stuff. Our 2 board members will be meeting with the specialists throughout the school to be able to dive into it at a much deeper level, so that somebody who's not on that committee can ask them questions offline and get those answers before we get in here on our normal business night, and feel like we're not trying to answer all the questions while we're sit here. I mean, we still have questions while we sit here, but we're not trying to analyze every single line at that point. We've kind of got a better feel for where we are. So in that aspect, I think that will speed things up, because we don't have to go, we need to wait another month, or we need to postpone. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I also think that it can help us if we need to edit something. I think we've had an example here before. We don't have to edit it right here in the midst of our meeting. We can do first read, we can take it, edit it, bring it back, edited the second time, and we can vote on it or not, or make changes again as a board. But I think it also puts some onus on us as a board to have some ownership of some of those changes, instead of just saying to the staff, go change it, and hope they changed it the way we want it to sound, So I think it just gives us some collaboration with them to do some of that editing for verbiage if we need to. Or if it's a Amherst-specific policy, we might need to do some tweaking to make it align with our laws, so just gives us a working arm that we don't have to do that here.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
With this, I know that one of our jobs as a board is to be reviewing policy every 5 years, I think. It is that
Timeframe.
correct, Dr.
What
Wells?
is the timeframe?
Well, typically every,
2?
yeah, you have to go through them, but then typically the VSBA, when their cycles is on that rotation cycle, so you typically get an updated one. But you should be reviewing your policy on a regular basis.
So traditionally, we've been relying on the VSBA to notify us, basically? Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
Sort of?
It's just,
No?
they, as part of what they do is they will make sure that the policies that are as written are in compliance with state code. And they make sure that if there's been any changes to the law or to code, then they update them to make sure they're in compliance. But it's really the board's responsibility to review policy.
So could that be one of the duties of the committee? Because as far as going through the current policies, to make certain that there aren't any that have not been reviewed and
Well, I think I think that is where, when we come into a meeting, if we have a policy that's, like I said, more than just a change of date, change of title, or, the minor stuff. If it is something that we deem that is a little more, I'll say, challenging as far as a review, yes. But I don't think we want to sit here and go, every time the VSBA changes something, we're going to have that committee do that. And the other thing about the committee is that it is a 12-month trial. 12 months from now, we can step back and go, we didn't gain anything from this, or we thought it was beneficial. And we can say, yep, we want to continue it and make it a normal committee. Or we can step back and go, yeah, we wasted some people's time for the year. So,
But as far as as far as our ACPS policy reviewing every 2 years, I don't think that would be the responsibility of the committee. That's the responsibility of the entire board to look at policy. And if you have questions about policy, a particular policy in our policy manual, to bring that to our attention so we can talk about those particular questions. But the committee, the purpose of this committee is not to review the entire policy manual every 2 years, but as board and as superintendent, it's our responsibility to look through there biannually and make sure that their policies in place are compliant with what we're supposed to be doing.
okay. Any other discussion? Okay.
Really
Yes, ma'am.
quick, just based on the bullet points that we see here, if the board is comfortable with them, the only one that I think we need to clarify from my perspective, because I agree with these, is the one for committee members. We need to make sure whether we want the chair to appoint them or whether we want the board. So it's just the verbiage for this bullet point. I'm assuming we want the chair to make recommendations to the board and the board vote. So if that's the case, we would just change that first word from appointed to recommended.
Okay.
Unless the board wanted some, I would think that the board would want to vote on it, but.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I personally would ask the board to maybe consider the recommendation. That way, it keeps the decision of who's on the committee as a board decision versus a couple individuals. Thank you.
Okay, make that change. Anything else from the board? Okay, do you need anything on this tonight?
No, unless I think we'll clean it up and get it back to you at the next meeting, and then if it's good, then y'all can give a consensus. Since it's not a policy, it's more of a consensus.
Right.
And then, but this, I think we can take what you have tonight and give you something that kind of meets what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Wells.
Thank you.
Moving on.
So next we have
8.0.
8, and that's administrative. Dr. Hoden?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Just a few things tonight. We do have a little bit of construction update. We've had several meetings over the last couple weeks, and things are actually moving along. If you go over there now, you will see actually some things have been dug up. The parking lot and that area looks good, and we're actually digging up all of the asphalt. Mr. Rokes is going to review some things going on in the PowerPoint that Ms. McNerney made for you. Mr. Oakes?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, like Dr. Hood mentioned, significant progress has really been made in the last couple of weeks. It was slow getting out of the gates, if you will, getting things in place, but we are moving forward now, even to the extent where, like I told Dr. Hood and Dr. Wells yesterday afternoon, the actual, what I consider the first construction part on the new addition is taking place, and that would be new conduit being laid into the mechanical room, going up to where the transformer has to go. So that's being installed as we speak this week and next week. But anyway, as far as the PowerPoint goes, a lot of work. Virginia Site Works has done a lot of work on the parking lot, the new 109-spot parking lot that's being installed. Grading, they've got the retention pond in, and they're raising the elevation of the parking lot based upon the specifications of the plans. That continues to go. We have a lot of activity going in as far as dump trucks bringing in stone to help raise that up. And so that's been moving along really well. Unfortunately, really, this rain in the last couple of weeks has hampered things to some degree, but they are still making progress. In addition to that, like Dr. Hoden mentioned, the asphalt in the rear parking lot, it's completely gone now where the building will sit at. If you go by there and happen to look at that, just to give you an idea, the asphalt that has been removed is about 10 foot greater than what the building actually will sit on. So to give you an idea of where we're roughly at, and that's it. So they did that to allow them to dig the footers and work around the building, but it leave as much asphalt as possible to keep this work area as clean as possible. If you notice in the pictures there too, I think Dr. Wells is maybe preparing for
He was moonlighting a little bit.
his post-retirement. He has many skills and talents, as we all know, in the educational field, hunting field, fishing fields, and now he can operate a track hoe. So if he gets bored, if he needs some mental therapy during the week, if you will, get his mind off things, if you need to look for him, he may be in the back parking lot at the high school working on a piece of equipment.
If you find a budget item for a new track hoe, now you know why.
So anyway, that's progressing well. The driver tower that's been there for decades, that was also demoed this past week. And the top shell was brought off first, and then the rest of the walls were tore down. So that's gone. The rear canopy outside the new gym area or the gym area, that whole canopy, they finished that up this week. Actually finished up yesterday. And so the back of the school now is completely removed of all that debris. And the existing exterior wall of the school, as you see it at the gym, will now be an interior hallway wall. So just to give you a perspective of where things will be at. So it continues to move forward. We're hoping that they had some questions regarding the rebar. Those questions hopefully will be answered either tomorrow, first part of the week. The rebar will be ordered, and we're hoping the first week or two of February that we'll actually begin digging the footers. The rebar will be in place. They can begin digging the footers, and the building itself will eventually be coming out of the ground. So we're very happy with the progress where we are so far on that. Does anyone have any questions on that? I have one other thing we want to talk about. While we've been busy at the high school, but do you need questions regarding the construction project?
Anything from the board?
Mr. Terry?
Yes, sir.
The rebar, is that a supply issue, or was it a question of what was required?
What was required. There's some clarification. The contract needs some
Drawings.
clarification. So they're working on that. Architects working on that. And we have those answers back and make sure we order the right stuff, or the contract orders the right stuff.
Right. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Gary, so how are we doing on time, on budget for the project?
So far, we're on track. The estimated completion date, I talked to the contractor this afternoon about 5 o'clock, actually. We anticipate the final project being completed in September of 2025. The auditorium and the cafeteria addition, we're hoping sometime in the spring of 2025. So the goal was to get that completed, and then over the summer months, we'll finish the interior renovation. So the whole project, construction, renovations of the interior building, by August, September 2025, we hope everything is behind us, and we'll be occupying all the spaces for the staff and students within Amherst County High School.
Perfect. Awesome. And are you handling all the RFIs and change order requests that come in for the project?
We're reviewing all those. The process right now is Jameson Lewis submits those directly to the architect. They have a software program made by Trimble called Project Site, I believe it is, and we do have access to that. So I look at that on a daily basis, see what's going on. But I'm on site every day working with the contractors and their project management team. And if we have questions back and forth, they're keeping us in the loop. And thus, again, Dr. Hood and Dr. Wells, I refer that information to them as well. So we stay on top of it every day. I think I'm going to move my office up there, I think. So anyway, any other questions regarding the high school project itself?
Mr. Oakes, it's too bad you couldn't have taken that driver's ed tower and moved it. It would have made a nice deer stand somewhere.
Yes, you're right. You're exactly right. That's where I learned to drive. It's pretty scary. But anyway, changing gears real quick. The other thing we've been working on is the former members of the board remember last January we were discussing about the chiller at Amherst County High School. We ordered it last January. It came in the first part of December. And on December 28th, Christmas came a couple of days late. But the new chiller has been installed at the high school. The piping was finished up today. And so now they will come in, the electricians will come in, the installation guys will come in to finish all the pipe work and everything. They'll do a factory startup in the next few weeks. We don't have dates on all these things yet. But anyway, the new chiller is on site, is in place, and is in the process of being connected to be ready to go particularly for the spring months when we need the air conditioning.
Good.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Oakes.
we did have a warranty with that now?
On the new machine?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how long is that good for?
I'd have to go back and look at the specs, but yes, we do have warranty. And actually, the good thing about this machine too, it was made in Harrisonburg, Virginia, so it's local to the state, local to us.
Okay.
And so yes, it's what our contractor recommended we go with, and so we're looking forward to having something close by and in state for parts, access, and technical support as well.
Good. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a wiring issue that started all of that, right? Was that a critter issue?
It was a critter issue, yes, sir. That unit was installed approximately 5 to 6 years ago, and what happened is a groundhog or some rodent got up in the machine, did a significant amount of work, damage to the wiring and computer aspects of it. They went through, rewired everything, did a bunch of control work on it, but it never has functioned properly since that time. And this past summer, this is, like I said, I've been here 2.5 years. This past summer actually performed relatively well in comparison to the other summers. So we've been, our contractor's been spending a lot of time just trying to keep it up and running. I went out several times in the spring and the summer when we had events and things like that, because I started getting emails about the system being shut down. I would go out and have to reset it, in the evenings like that, when we have plays or what have events at the school, reset it to keep it going. And it was not dependable at all.
Right. And so have we corrected the critter problem? Have they moved the wiring for this new unit? Is it indoors, up high? Is this unit different?
To some degree, they have done some other things with the design work and everything, as far as trying to not have as much of that exposed as possible. We haven't had any problems since then, in the past, but, you have a unit like that, you're going to have some type of exposure out there, but they're trying to control that the best as possible.
All right.
Anything else, board?
All right, and then one other project, just to let you know, we did award the contract for the interior doors at Madison Heights Elementary and Manelson to National Security Door of Richmond. They will be starting to do a discovery process, which means they actually come in and remeasure some of the items to make sure before they order it. So at Manelson Middle, new doors and locks, and then at Madison Heights Elementary, new locks. So we'll be able to lock those from the inside. Teachers will be able to do that. So that was much overdue as well. So that's been awarded, and hopefully we'll get started on that. I hope to have some of that work start over spring break as soon as we get those parts in.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, next item, discipline board changed. Of course, those members pretty much know that because we had discipline tonight, and we'll have some more moving forward. We'll loop Mr. Childress in that as well. I'll talk to him and get him involved in one of those meetings as well so he can become familiar with that discipline board process. Okay. And then just a quick note, March 5th, we will have a special election, and that's again March 5th. For the presidential, and the voting board has contacted me. We will be in school that day. However, we expect a very low turnout, so I've notified the principals, and we'll keep communication with you through that. questions on that, sir.
Good. Board? Okay.
All right, 6.02, you have the December student suspensions report.
Any questions from the board? Okay.
All right,
Thank
Dr.
you,
Wells,
Dr.
thank you.
So next we have Ms. Laconich with finance.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Welcome, Mr. Childress. Before you tonight is your December financial reports. It's your standard reports, your local revenue that have come in for the month of December, your revenue and expenditure reports for the operational budget and your child nutrition budget. And as always, the object code summary, which sort of summarizes all of that data that's in your expenditure reports. The one thing I always try to point out those negatives. We had the one negative that I had spoke about previously, which was the bus that we had encumbered for next year, unless we find out that we have funding and we can add another bus this year, which would be great. The current report does have more negatives, and I just wanted to point that out. It is due to the All in Virginia, the stipends that have been paid out for the first half, as well as a lot of the materials and such that has been purchased. So that supplemental appropriation that you approved earlier this evening will then allow us to put a budget in there and fix majority of those. So I just wanted to point those out. We also have the attendance report for December. Our ADM, our budget is based off the 3751.3, and currently it's showing 3763, so our ADM is looking strong. Prior to getting the calc tool, I would be sitting here just talking about sales tax, because that's just something we always monitor. The good news is we did get a new calc tool for this year, and they did provide some relief in the area because we were lagging in the sales tax that we were receiving. So that was really good news. The basic aid did go up, sales tax went down. It was not dollar for dollar, but it was something that was more manageable. So for current year, that was definitely good news. I did want to talk about, because we did receive the calc tool for next year as well. But at first, do you have any questions about this year's reports?
Board, anything? Okay.
Okay, so as I just said, we did get the calc tool for the governor's proposed 2024-26 biennial budget. We did receive it a little bit later than we normally do. We've received it late last week. We've been diving in and dissecting that information. Overall, it was a really conservative budget, both in the funding and the ADM projections. As far as some of the top things that I've noticed, and it would put for next year a 1% bonus for staff, for SOQ funded staff. And then in year two, in fiscal year 26, it would have a 2% salary increase. There was also some VRS changes. But so we're going through those steps to analyze as we go through the budget process. We're looking forward to seeing the House and Senate versions as they go through crossover. That occurs on February 4th, but we usually don't get the calc tool till mid-February. So right now we are basing our budget off the conservative, what we think would be the worst case scenario with the governor's budget.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Board, any questions from Ms. Laconich?
What kind of enrollment number were they using in the conservative governor's budget?
They actually, so we were at 3751, like I just said, we're looking at 3763 of what we have in December. Theirs is, is 3712.9, down 38 students.
Anything else from the board? Thank you, Ms. Laconich.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have instruction with Dr. Norman and her team.
If you don't want me to.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, tonight I have a couple of things. The first one, it was an update on school improvement. However, the state has not come out with their one-pager in regards to any changes or corrections or in regards to accreditation or what the requirements will be. We have attended one webinar so far, and we have 2 next week that will lay everything out. But right now, the only thing that we know is that there is going to be a needs assessment that all schools will be required to complete. It will be in 4 different categories. Normally, a needs assessment is only done in regards to our academic performance, but now the state is requiring us to do academic supports, staffing supports, which would go through our HR, professional learning supports, which would also be any PD or trainings that we do, and then school climate supports, which would actually access or have us review chronic absenteeism as well as discipline and staff surveys. So it's very different than what we've done in the past, and we're getting trained on it next week, I believe. It's listed on my calendar. And then also in February, the 14th and the 15th, we will actually have the training video. We will do training with identified schools and building level administrators. Sometime next week, Dr. Wells should be receiving a email from the state superintendent stating which schools in our division have been identified as either monitoring, under academic review, or in any other capacity that the state wants us to provide data as to where we are in regards to our accreditation or student performance right now. Once that comes out, then we'll work with those principals to put into place a plan of action. Or to, actually, we already have a plan of action for them to see if what we're asking them to do and what we're working with them on meets the requirements for the state. So stay tuned. I'll be back in February. Any questions regarding that?
Board, any questions for Dr. Norman?
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am. Thank you. The next thing I have on my list is VDOE platforms, building bridges to success. I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Wheeler and then Natalia Cecil, who will talk about not just the learning platforms, but then we'll move into the actual survey information regarding bridges, and then move over into our showcase with Mr. White. So, Ms. Wheeler?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you again for time to talk to you tonight about our all-in tutoring program here in Amherst County. So what you hopefully have before you and what is on the screen there is just a quick guide to the 2 VDOE digital platforms that are being provided to us to support our students during this intensive tutoring process. The first one is Zern Math, which we've been talking about but waiting for. We officially have our students uploaded into the program and are set to begin that next week when they return to us in the small group sessions. The Zern tutoring, or the Zern platform, excuse me, as well as the Lexia platform are both able to provide students direct support on skills that have been identified as needs. It provides our tutors with offline resources to use for small group instruction, giving them some flexibility to be able to select targeted lessons specific to what students need. So we're very excited to finally be able to have what the state has been promising us and seeing how that's going to impact our students. Okay. Yep. Brittany, would you pull up the presentation? So tonight, we also want to take the opportunity to review some survey data that we have collected from our Bridge Time participants, both our students and our staff, during this first semester, as we have provided offline resources for our teachers. We've used some alternate digital platforms, again, as I said, while we were waiting for the VDOE provided ones. At this time, our students have had the opportunity to investigate concepts with 7 different hands-on activities over 5 different themes which you'll see tonight in our survey data, they are really very much enjoying. So I want to turn it over to Ms. Cecil to kind of give you a quick overview of some of that data that we've collected, to show what our students and staff are enjoying, some feedback that they've given us, and then I'll follow up with just some of the changes that we've been able to make based on that feedback.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So during the week of November 27th, all staff and students participating in Bridge Time were provided an opportunity to provide feedback regarding our program, specific to access of materials, implementation of lessons, hands-on opportunities, online platforms, and of course, our overall experience. As you can see here, 75.8% of students indicated a neutral or positive experience with the overall program, the use of digital learning, small group, and hands-on activities, and 47.7% of our staff working in the program noted a similar experience. The staff's survey included questions regarding the benefits of the hands-on opportunities that occur on Fridays and every 3 weeks, the organization and access of program materials through Canvas, and survey results indicate that the majority of staff appreciated how materials were organized and easily accessible in the Canvas platform. Our students also responded to the question about the use of hands-on activity, with 65.2% finding these as valuable learning experiences. In addition, we asked our students about the support that they received during Bridge Time and how they felt about the various components utilized during the daily Bridge Time, including small group and the use of the IXL digital platform for both reading and math. We saw that over 70% of students feel like they are receiving adequate support from their tutor and overwhelmingly enjoying the hands-on lessons. Our students expressed through their responses that the IXL program was not meeting their needs during this time for accelerated learning. In response to our survey data, as Ms. Wheeler noted earlier, we've made some adjustments to our Bridge program, and she's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Ms. Cecil. Okay, so as we've said, using that survey data, we've been able to make some adjustments to our all-in high-dosage tutoring. As I mentioned previously, we now have access to Zern and Lexia. Students and classroom teachers will still be able to utilize the IXL program during their core content for both reading and math. But as you saw in our survey data, they appreciate, I think, or will appreciate having the opportunity to use a different platform other than IXL during that time, as that was something that they noted as a part that they really didn't enjoy that much. Our staff has done a phenomenal job with collecting progress monitoring data during this first semester while we waited for the state platform. Feedback from our staff indicated that although they understand the need to progress monitor using the tool that we had asked them to use, they felt like that it wasn't maybe as beneficial in helping them target specific student needs. And so we're happy to be able to discontinue the use of that tool for our staff, as the online platforms that we are being provided with give us that progress monitoring ability within the platform. So we're able to kind of take that away and not require that component outside of those digital platforms. As you know, during the first semester, without that state-provided curriculum, we as a division created our own lesson plans, not only for the hands-on activities on Fridays and every 3 weeks, but for those small group lessons, using those 6 skills at each grade level that we saw as a division weakness, trying to be able to target additional support there. And one of the pieces of data that our teachers shared is that they wanted to be able to have some flexibility in the materials and the resources that they were using with their students in that small group. And so we're excited that these platforms come with those resources. They're scripted lessons for them to be able to go into the platform and select this particular lesson for this particular group of students. So to be able to give them some of that autonomy, and we're excited that that platform will allow the opportunity for that. And then lastly, we want to be able to offer our administrators and our teachers some flexibility in how they use that bridge time tutoring, knowing that as we get closer to spring and our SOL assessments, we have been able to give them some autonomy in their building to choose how they structure that bridge time when we return from spring break. So whether as a building they want to continue on the path of using Zern and Lexia, and those digital resources and offline resources for small group during that bridge time, or whether they want to pivot and readjust groups and do some more SOL targeted instruction. We want to be able to allow them to use the data that they've collected to make some of those decisions in their own buildings. And so we're excited to be able to do that. But we also want to be able to continue those hands-on opportunities during that time because our students are enjoying them. So we're going to ask that even though we're giving you the ability to change what it is you might be doing in front of your students when we return from spring break, we'd like for you to still incorporate those hands-on activities for our students to investigate those science concepts. So that's it for our bridge updates. I'll be happy to answer questions now or at the end, but I'd like to be able to have Mr. Ryan White, our principal at Manellison Middle School, come up and talk about bridge and what he and his staff have been able to accomplish during this first semester. So Mr. White.
Okay.
All right, good evening, Board Chair and members of the board. Ryan White, Manellison Middle School Principal. I was given directions, somebody called me from Central Office today and said, don't move. And I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't know I was gonna be at the podium, and I kind of walk around and go all over the place. So I will try to stay right here on the mic and speak clearly. Sometimes I mumble a little bit. I didn't know what that meant. So I did write it on my paper though, don't move. That's what I got. So I'm gonna try to stay here. Yeah, so on slide 2, I think we're looking at here at Manellison Middle School, we are the largest bridge group school in Amherst County since the high school doesn't do it. We have 44 groups. You can see all the bins that we put together, those nice color-coded bins that we got there. And we use every inch of our building for this. Cafeteria, library, every classroom, gym, all it is. It kind of just all encompasses our building there when bridge starts. We use everybody, teachers, IAs, God bless our IAs. They are like the first line of defense when we have substitutes in the building. We're like, hey, we need you to go to room 102 and do bridge there. We need to go with 117. So they do an awesome job jumping in and kind of taking the lesson and roll with it. Counselors, secretaries, our custodians, you know, sometimes with sand and glue and bricks and stuff, there's a little bit to clean up, a little extra stuff to clean up there. So they do their part too as well. And even administrators, myself, Ms. Wood, and Mr. Cochran, we have a group of students. We rotate them weekly there. And you know, how fun is it for a middle school kid to know that your administrator is your bridge teacher? They love that. So we have a good group and have a good time with it. So largest building, I think most money was thrown our way there. I've been told around $70,000 was thrown towards stipends at Manellison Middle School, and then an extra $30,000 in materials just from Manellison, because again, we have so much stuff because we have the students that we're applying, over 500 kids that we're doing bridge with, so got to make sure that that's happening. Moving on to the next slide there. Just kind of what it looks like at Manellison Middle School, because I know you've had a couple other principals come up here and talk, but they've all been elementary principals. This is the first secondary kind of look at what it looks like. It's a 45-minute time period every day after third period. We like to keep that consistency at the middle school level. Changing schedule for middle school students isn't always the greatest, so keep that consistency going. You got the warm-up, and then it's 20 minutes, kind of that face-to-face lesson that you got with one group of students. Each class is 12 students or less, so you got about 5-6 students that you're working with face-to-face, while 5 or 6 are over here working on IXL. Obviously, that'll change a little bit as they were talking about getting the Zern and Lexia and doing some extra stuff as we're getting closer to SOLs, but this is what it has looked like moving forward. For us, Monday, Tuesday is the English day, and Wednesday, Thursday is your math day, and then that Friday you have that hands-on kind of activity that you have going on. And then that third week where it's the week-long hands-on, the students really enjoy that, and the teachers too. Students were originally grouped by their last year's SOL scores, so we kind of grouped them in that kind of mix to kind of lump them together there. We prioritized our students that were 415 and below. Those students are getting English instruction from an English teacher, math instruction from a math teacher, not to discredit all of our other teachers because they do a fantastic job. You walk by a classroom, you can't tell who's a math and an English teacher in our building because they're all doing their thing, and it's awesome to see and adding stuff. Moving to the next slide there. What you're seeing is a lot of pictures from the week before Christmas. That was one of our hands-on activities. It was up on the rooftop. I won't start singing that because Christmas is over. But the students learned a lot about rooftop structures. I learned a lot about it because I was in there teaching with them. So the flat roof, the A-frame, the curved roof, all those types of things, which a lot of good questions stem from that. We were talking about why a school has a flat roof. Well, it's got so much stuff up on top of, all that kind of stuff. So it was neat. They learned about it, and then they got the chance to design it and then build one out of like straws and all kinds of materials, all the materials that are in there. And then we tested them out by dumping sand on them, kind of showing like how does it fall off, how does it hold, all that kind of stuff to kind of show snow, which we haven't gotten yet, but maybe at some point. And then some classes got a little more involved with it because we still had some bricks left over from one of the last ones. Like, can we drop a brick on the house? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So we just started dropping bricks on there and doing all kinds of fun stuff there. You got to keep them motivated, middle school students, especially with the hands-on stuff. At first, they're kind of like, I don't know, that's not cool with all that kind of stuff. But once it gets going, they kind of get into it, and it's fun. And we also implemented the trophy program there. You can see our trophies that we have. So what we did it for Bridge when we had the building the bridges one, and then we built the houses one. We go around, take pictures of all of them, put them out there on a Google survey, have the students vote on it, and then we present the winners, first, second, and third place. That's the GOAT trophy. There's a goat on top of that trophy for greatest of all time. They like that stuff. Then the Trojan Horse trophy for second place. My group got second place. I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that, but and then the Gumby trophy. I just found a Gumby, and half the kids don't know who that is, but that's third place. It's green, so they like it. They get involved in it and, kind of trash talk each other with it. So looking forward to the next round of that where they can kind of get into it. And go to the next slide. And that's the first place winners. They're across the hall from me, so I'm not, that's the target right there. Very proud of the work that's done by the students and the teachers, especially at Manellison Middle School. Like I said before, you can walk through the building, and it's neat to see, like, Mr. Hawkins, a history teacher, and he sounds like an English teacher the way he's teaching in there. Or Miss Fielder, who's in the gym, she sounds like a math and English teacher getting into it. And I think the students kind of get to hear that different perspective because you can kind of play that role of, you show me how it's done. And I'm, with me, I don't know how to do this math problem, and I kind of play that trick on them, like, hey, show me how you would get that kind of thing. And you kind of play that off, and I'm starting to learn some stuff too in there, so it's kind of neat. So kind of appreciate that too as well. So that's kind of what we got going on at Manellison. And the last one, we're looking forward to figuring out what the Zern and Lexi and all those types of things. And, being part of the class, I got to dive into it too. So we're going to do some more training on the 16th, be ready to roll on the 17th, and, get these students ready to roll. But that is all that I have, and I'll stay up here to answer any questions that you may have.
Board, any questions for Mr. White? Sir.
All right, I did not move. Let's go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Do they have any questions for?
Do you have any questions for Ms. Wheeler and Ms. Cecil in regarding to Bridge and the new programs or anything?
Mr. Childress?
Yes, sir, I have a question. So going back to, I think, slide 3. So first of all, the tutoring program is extremely important. I think everybody would agree with that for our students' success. On slide 3, the 67.4%, that shows how much of our teachers thought the program was successful or favorable?
Beneficial
Beneficial.
to the students in their current learning, so.
The hands-on activities
Right.
that they found beneficial.
The hands-on activities, okay.
That number is specific to that.
Okay, all right. It's a little low. I would like to see, from our teachers, higher ratings. And so I'm wondering, are we looking at how we can improve those activities to make them more beneficial? We have to, obviously we respect what our teachers think, right? They're in the trenches doing the work. So if they rated that so low, do they have any recommendations on how we can improve it to make it better so we can have a better impact for our students?
Yeah, and I was going to say, we're still looking through some of that feedback data that they provided as far as suggestions. And a lot of it is just some clarity in the written plans that we've done. And so being able to go in and make those adjustments for them.
Thank you.
And I will say that administrators have asked if they have the ability to have their teachers create the hands-on lessons that they would like to be able to do when they have that flexibility after spring break, and we've provided them that. It's not a division requirement that they ask teachers to create lessons, but if they choose to do that in their building, they have that autonomy to do so. They know their students and what they need.
All right.
So.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Really quick, I think it's on slide 4, we're talking about hands-on activities that Mr. Childress has mentioned, Canvas and program materials. Is there anywhere on here that talks about the quality of the program materials? I'm seeing that, that they perceive that the materials are easily accessible, rated their experience with the platform of Canvas as good or excellent. Majority of the respondents considered activities, the hands-on. What about the other 4-day lessons? Do we have anything that speaks to their feedback on those lessons?
I don't have the full questions, but I do think there was one question.
Yes, we do have a question that asked them about how helpful the guidance was in the scripted lessons for the tutors, and a majority of the respondents did find them they're neutral and helpful.
Okay, do you have a percentage on that?
If I take out my calculator, we have 32% who found it neutral, and 38.4% of the respondents found it helpful or very helpful. So, 70.4% altogether.
Okay, thank you. And then going down to slide 6, I'm understanding, based on the last bullet point, that after spring break, there's going to be a shift in which there's going to be flexibility in the buildings. And I'm assuming that's so that they can focus on their individual student needs, and that's very beneficial. So my question is, why is that flexibility held off until after spring break? Do the schools have flexibility between now and spring break? Because I'm assuming you got to get Zern in there, you got to get Lexia in there,
the
get that
times.
rolling, and that would be what type of intervention? That's not tier 1. What would that be?
So being able to use Lexi and Zern, first we want to be able to give it some time, as we've just been given
Correct.
access. And so being able to give us the next couple of months to try that. The offline lessons, because it's targeting specific student needs. So I may log in my tutoring group of 12 students, and those 12 students might have 4 or 5 different skills that have been identified for them. So it really is targeting that tier 2 support. And then being able, those scripted lessons actually give differentiation. So if a student isn't getting it at that level, here's another step that you can take to be able to support. And so one of the reasons of asking them to wait until after spring break is to be able to use the platform, to be able to use those resources. And they may find that when they return back from spring break, that some of those offline resources that are specific to grade level content may still be beneficial. For example, Zern, their platform, they recommend that you place students where you are in current grade level pacing. And so that's something we've done as a division level, is within that program, we've gone in and hand assigned each student based on the course that they're currently in, based on our third 9 weeks pacing, which will begin when they come back. This is where you're recommended to start. Tutors then can go and make those adjustments and changes based on what content's being taught in the classroom, so that even though we're saying wait until spring break, even now we're being able to target at that tier 2 support with those specific skills.
Well, that's good, thank you.
You're welcome.
And is there flexibility to work on tier 3 students during bridge time?
Absolutely. And so during that bridge time, tutors can pull students in small groups as many times as needed, right? I may be a student who gets multiple small groups even within the day. I may pull you off of that online platform to give you another small dosage lesson. But also, if a support person needs to come in and push in and provide a tier 3 support during that time, they have that flexibility as
And
well.
that doesn't have to wait till after as
No, ma'am. We
spring break?
want them to be able to, it really is student-driven need. So what our students need, we want to be able to support.
Okay, thank you.
Board, anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is regarding textbook. We're getting ready to go through textbook adoption, so I've asked Mr. Maddox, who oversees our textbook program here in the division, to kind of come and give you an overview of what that looks like for English and history. Those are the two areas we have, and then to be able to talk about the timeline, the committee, and the requests that we will make from you tonight. Mr. Maddox?
Thank you, Dr. Norman. Mr. Chair, members of the board, just wanted to give you an overview and an update on the ongoing textbook adoption process for the school year. So during this year, the following content areas will need to be to adopt textbooks to align with VDOE standards, state requirements. So we have the elementary grades K through 5 with English, and history is secondary grades 8 through 12, which are two new courses, geography and AP physics. And a note at the bottom, we'll go through this process again next year with science textbook adoption as well as the secondary English textbook adoption. So policy and procedures, this is kind of where we need to go between now and the end of the school year in May. We have to appoint evaluation committees to review and evaluate the textbooks, give notice to parents of textbooks under consideration, and list those on the website and make them available in designated areas and locations for review by citizens. Also, we have to create opportunities for persons reviewing the textbooks to present their comments and observations to the school board. We have to create a procedure to ensure appropriate consideration of citizen comments and observations, and establish and make known the selection criteria, which in the past we have always used the selection criteria used by VDOE. So an updated timeline, you can see kind of where we are right now in the process, and then where we need to be by May in order to adopt a textbook and order those textbooks to make sure that we receive them before school starts.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a list of textbooks that are being evaluated right now, I presume?
Yes.
Okay. Because the board is required to oversee that, how do we as a board, as individual board members, review the textbooks?
You're going to
Next
have
step?
access to, yes, yes.
So if I can add to that, one of the things that, and I can confirm this again with Mr. Wright, our attorney, but one of the things, because you actually as a board adopt it for our division, you cannot assign yourself to the committee. The committee brings that recommendation to you, but you as a public citizen can go in and follow the process just like everyone else in regards to the textbook adoption. But the committee that you appoint for each one is the one that brings the recommendations to you. You review those recommendations, but you as a board cannot appoint a board member to your committee, to the review committee, if that makes sense.
But you can review the materials.
But you can review all the
Yeah.
materials.
And the process of reviewing the materials, it's on the website right now?
It's not on.
It's not on it now. You have to actually,
Yeah.
he's going to get to
We're getting
that.
there.
Okay, thank you.
You're ahead of me. All right, so right now, we have received all the examination copies, textbook materials for the books that we are reviewing. Okay, so right now, it's the teacher and staff that are reviewing the textbooks. So here's the schedule right now this week. The English textbooks are at Madison Heights and Central. Next week, we'll rotate those books to Eland and Temperance. And the following week, we'll rotate them to Amelon and Amherst Elementary. For the secondary textbooks, the World Geography will be at Manelson Middle School, and AP Psychology will be at the high school. So right now, the process is where the teachers are reviewing those books.
Okay, so after the teacher review, we'll have public and community review. And that's scheduled to all the books and they'll be here at central office from January 30th to February 29th. And we'll have them, we've already started putting some of the materials and things in the room back here. So they'll be set up so the public and the community can come in and review the textbooks.
Yes, ma'am.
What about parents and citizens who aren't available to come during school hours?
Right now, we have online access for the books where parents will put those links and everything when we send out. We will put this on the webpage, we'll put it on social media and let the parents know, here's your time frame and all that information and the links for them to review the textbooks will be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Last question, maybe.
Nah.
On this
Come on.
slide. Is it possible to have, if the board maybe might consider, if it would be their desire, to have like where the PTA, where it can be in the evening?
We can discuss that and do an evening here at the school board office. That's not a problem.
So like during your school board meetings, we can actually set it up before and after, and people can actually do that during the Board of Supervisors meetings. We can have it available so that more community members can come in and see.
Thank you.
We just have to select certain dates and advertise those, but we'll do that.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Yes, Mr. Childress.
Mr. Maddox, any consideration to digital content as you're looking at books, textbooks, and then like digital artifacts or exercises with that as well?
Right. Ms. Wheeler, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that we have access to all the digital and online components so people can see that. What we'll have here at the actual school building, we'll have the hard copies and stuff where people can actually come in and put their hands on the textbooks and the workbooks and everything that comes with it.
But
Right.
Are you talking about actually adopting digital rather than a hands-on textbook?
That's
that-
my question is
Yeah,
are we
okay.
considering that as part of, I know we're still going to want the paper textbooks, but are we considering a digital version as part of that and then along with all the digital activities and
Yeah.
that come with that?
So with the English, under the Virginia Literacy Act with the English, we do have a digital component with those. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe. And we can purchase that, and that will totally be up to the board whether or not you want to purchase just the textbook itself, or you want to purchase the textbook for a classroom set and then the digital component with it. The way that the board handled it, the last big, huge adoption that we did with math and history. The board took and used half of the funds in order to purchase the actual classroom sets of textbooks, and then took the other money and dumped that over into Chromebooks so we could go one-to-one, and that's basically why we were ready when COVID came. So it's been done differently, but we have that, you as a board have that option, and you'll get those recommendations once we get all the information from the community.
Do you have any feedback from your teachers or students that have used the digital versions on which they prefer? Because I'm a tech guy, obviously, and I probably wouldn't do well as a student if I had a digital textbook compared to an actual paper textbook.
I don't think we've done a survey on that probably in 3 years. I believe we did it with the last textbook adoption, but I can go back and look at that survey information, and if you want us to send that out to get that information from students, we can do that for you.
I'd be interested in seeing what our students think. How are they learning? What's the best way for them to learn?
Okay.
Thank you.
Board, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
It's a different slide.
That's right.
You want to go back to the slide?
No, this is a good slide. New questions. When my student was taking classes last year, one of the things that I observed was she wasn't using textbooks. She was almost always on the computer and had paper printouts. So how do we evaluate those paper printouts, I suppose? Because that's what she was bringing home. That's what she was working on.
So resources that are used, supplemental resources, we leave that to the autonomy of the teacher. So I have a textbook, an English textbook, that I can teach straight out of the English textbook or digital, and I can post any of that on my Canvas course. Any additional resources that I want to bring to the table, that's done, reviewed in their PLCs, they discuss it. The classroom teacher says, okay, I like this poem, I want to be able to use that in combination with this story, The Great Expectations, that I'm reading, and they would choose to do that. That is totally up to the teacher, the class, the department, and then ultimately the principal. Ms. Wheeler, if you want to add anything to that?
I was going to say, I think you summarized it nicely. The paper copies or reproducibles that come with the core curriculum that we would adopt are available for review, which are some of those things that you'll see. But as Dr. Norman said, teachers have the ability to go and pull other materials that they think would help support the learning of the
Right.
student.
I mean,
So
I think
that's not
back,
part of the
I think back
adoption.
when I taught world geography, I did a unit on comparative religions, but the book didn't really have much on that. So I created and found my own resources that I made paper copies of and gave it to the students to use during class. So we could have a more in-depth discussion of the world major religions. So sometimes teachers will find those just to have as resources for students because the textbook may or may not have had the detail they wanted to go into.
So in that situation, Dr. Wells, I think what I'm hearing you say is that when a teacher's doing that, that's in their plan. That's gone through their supervisors, it's gone through the building administrator. It's not necessarily a situation where, I think this is a great idea, and it is a good idea, but no one
Not necessarily. It may not go through the building administrator.
No.
Now, the new state code requires us anything that we find to be explicit. We talked about all last year.
Right.
But as far as a general lesson plan, something I deem important for my kids, if it's appropriate, would not necessarily go through a school administrator before it was sent home. I mean, we want to give teachers that autonomy to make those decisions on their own without having to run it by us or a building administrator.
Does it go by the department chair?
I would say a lot of it is discussed in PLCs and department meetings, but I can't say as an English teacher, I didn't bring every article that I wanted my students to read to my department, but we did have conversations about it, and I sit in on PLCs and department meetings, and they do have those conversations.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Anything else from the board?
Quick question, and forgive me if someone else has already addressed this. I know we're going to put a lot of money into textbooks. Is there a way that we evaluate how often they're used? Like, can teachers tell us I use it 50%, 75% of the time? Can we get any kind of information? I mean, what if the results we got is that I never use a textbook and only 10% of our teachers use textbooks?
So
I mean,
now, yes, we can, like with our most recent adoptions, but I've only been through 2 adoptions here, and I've been here for 12 years. So if you look at the secondary English textbooks right now, they've been, the board adopted them 20 years ago. So at least 20 years ago. William, they were probably there when you were there.
They were there the same books were there when I was teaching and became an assistant principal that we're using today.
Yeah.
So the world geography, how long have we had those books?
I taught the world geography context. We
Yeah.
don't,
So a lot of what we have in our textbooks is going to be outdated.
correct.
Absolutely. That's why we're
So-
trying to, as the new standards go, we want to save those funds, those textbook funds, and move them over and actually update our textbooks, our curriculum right now to current. So we're trying to follow the standards. So English standards had been, the new Virginia Literacy Act is in. We want to make sure we have updated textbooks for that. That is one of the reasons why we've split elementary and secondary over 2 years, because the state has come out and said, under the Virginia Literacy Act, these are the curriculum that you are allowed to adopt. Secondary, they haven't given us that list yet, so we have to wait on that. And we've been waiting on that for quite some time.
3 years.
At least 3 years for that. I will tell you, with updated textbooks, if they have a newer version, they use them.
But
I
is it
guess
safe
that-
to say that the 20-year-old textbooks, we're not using those, right?
I don't know, because when I go into a classroom, like a ninth grade classroom, they're reading stories out of the literature book. It's just but we have also supplemented along the way. So we've got novel sets, and we've got reading materials, and we've done supplemental stuff for chemistry and science. But our textbooks definitely need to be updated.
Okay. Board, anything else?
Big job.
It is.
Thank you
It
for your
is.
hard work.
Okay.
That's why we gave it to Mr. Maddox.
Yeah, yeah.
Maddox,
I
would you-
appreciate you, Dr. Norman. So,
Would you like to explain the surveys?
yeah, in order to collect all this comprehensive feedback, we've created Google surveys, and we use the VDOE criteria for each grade and subject area. We have the links here. Those are the links that's been given to the teachers where they can go review the books and actually fill out the survey so we can gather that feedback. I want to thank Ms. Wheeler and Dr. McGinnis and Ms. Smith, because they helped with the surveys, because last time we had the textbook adoption, it was paper pencil. And so I really appreciate all their help with getting the technology and stuff ready. So, but we will have all of that up, and all this will go out. It's, like I said, it's with the teachers now. It'll go out with the parents, and they'll have all the links so they can review everything. Okay?
Okay.
So lastly, we have the textbook review committee, and that's where this committee will consolidate all the feedback received from teachers, staff, and community, and we'll make an informed recommendation to the board for adoption. So on board docs, you have the memos with the proposed committee members. If it pleases the board, I would ask that the recommended committees be approved by the board tonight so that we can stay on pace with our timeline. If the board would like to wait until February meeting, that's fine, and we can adapt the timeline for whatever we need to do.
And it doesn't need to be a vote, just a
needs a
consensus.
consensus.
Yeah.
of the board.
Okay. Board? Thoughts, opinions? Yay, nay?
I think we can do it tonight, really.
Okay. I'm good.
Yeah, I think more time, the more time they have to work on this, the better it is.
Okay. Rest of the board? David? Eric?
I agree. Move forward.
Okay, move forward.
Books to read.
So we have a consensus?
So the consensus would be to move forward.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you, Mr. Maddox. The next item on the agenda, 10.03, is our technology update. I have asked Mr. Goldman to come and provide you with an update on just the SIPA information that has to happen, as well as items that he's been taking care of over the last several months.
Thank you, Dr. Norman. Good evening, board, members of the community. Welcome, Mr. Childress. I'm here to discuss a few quick things. First, you have a memo discussing SIPA and our internet safety policy. SIPA stands for the Children's Internet Privacy Act. With this memo and everything else, please reach out to me if you have any questions or want to talk about anything. And this is part of what's coming in the fall. I'd like to have a public meeting where the community can come ask questions or provide feedback on our internet safety policy. And also in the fall, we'll be presenting to you our 2024-2029 technology plan. In other words, the VDOE released their new 5-year plan just before the winter break. So we're about to form a committee and get started on that. We are now Ray Baum's Act compliant. Ray Baum's Act basically says you need to have a database when a 911 call is placed. We have that and more. I think we have some extra features that are going to make us safer, including when a classroom or any phone in the school places a 911 call, certain key people, that's your principals, your secretaries, they're getting emails and phone calls saying within just seconds an emergency call was placed from this extension, and they know what room that came from. Another feature is if 911 is called and the teacher hangs up, the 911 center can call that phone back directly. They'll dial the number back and it routes right to that phone where they can ring. And I've been a little bit busy on the weekends the past few months. So when you look at this other attachment, okay, so that's awful, right? But that's the before. Let's just don't look at the before. But there's the after. And Manellicent, not pictured here, but all of Manellicent's data closets look great. These are just 2 from the high school. That's the before, but that's the after. So, like I said, all 4 at Manellicent are done. That's new switches, and every cable's repunched. Amherst Middle has new switches, but those closets are still ugly. I'm not going to show those. But I have big plans for Amherst Middle to really improve that. But yeah, I've got 3 closets done at the high school so far. I'll be done before the summer. We'll do the next one probably at the end of January over in the science wing. So other than just looking good, it was kind of about pushing myself, repunching every cable and why is this cable unpunched? Where did it go? And finding mystery cables here and there. So that was great. And bigger changes are coming. But more than looking pretty, this makes it easier for the next supervisor, or the next technology manager or whomever to pull these things out quickly and easily and replace them. So I'm pretty proud of that, and I wanted to showcase it. So that's it for me, unless you have any questions. But like I said, please reach out anytime.
Board, anything? Yes, ma'am.
How are we currently educating our students on online behavior or, excuse me?
Yeah.
Safety.
How are we currently educating our students about online behaviors? What are we doing there?
So I think you'll I think it's the last paragraph in the memo. It's either the last or the next to last. It breaks it down. But if I remember correctly, okay, we follow the VDOE framework. Teachers and ITRTs teach it. Emphasize good digital citizenship, respecting others, following rules. It's forget my memory, it's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
The breakdown of what it's taught in elementary, how often it's taught in secondary. And so I think your questions will be answered there.
So can I add something, just to kind of give you an overview? Our ITRTs right now, we have 3 ITRTs. And in our elementary schools, the ITRTs actually go in and they are in their computer labs and they actually teach through their modules that they've created, internet safety lessons, privacy information. Copyright. I mean, all of the things that are required under the VDOE. At our secondary levels, we also have a person, ITRTs that are at our secondary levels, but it is required for every secondary educator to embed into their curriculum internet safety, copyright information. So the ITRTs, same thing we do at elementary, it has to be embedded into the course in regards to what goes on in a secondary classroom. 7th grade through 12, because that's considered secondary in Virginia, and 6 is considered elementary. So what they do is the ITRTs have an actual page that the teachers can go on. They can download the lessons. They can get any information, or they can invite the ITRT into the classroom to actually help them teach that lesson. And so that's a little bit more than what's in your memo, but that kind of gives you a guideline of what's.
And we can access that ITRT website through our division or through the school website?
Through our division, and I think you can get it off of the school website as well.
And I just assume part of that training is getting that information to parents. so that they're aware of how to get to those resources?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that's usually happens at the very beginning of the school year when all parents have to sign the AUP.
Well, I will
Yeah.
say this, when parents have to sign that, they're doing that for so
I
many
know.
kids. If we could incorporate that information going out to those parents in a different format, or letting them know those resources are there in a time that they maybe are not inundated with everything, it might be helpful. I
Yes,
think it's
ma'am.
such an important topic that we need to make sure our parents are on board.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Goldman, question for you with the updates we're doing. I know that when I was doing some research on my own computer, my school computer, that I would look up like book reports and they would be flagged. But when I went back to that same website, it wasn't flagged anymore. I could get through. Is there anything that's being done to correct that? Because it's still considered not appropriate because, like, it's a book report on a sexually explicit book. So it has parts in it and it's blocked. But when I get out of it and I go back in, I can get into it.
I'd like to see that, because that'll better allow me to answer the question. But adults and students are sometimes filtered differently. We allow our adults just a little bit more freedom than our students.
Thank
So
you.
hopefully it's that. But I'll be happy
Okay.
to look at it, and we'll dig into it.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Great. Anything else, board? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, and that's all I have for my
Great.
22 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Dr. Norman.
All right, next we have Human Resources. Mr. Gallagher is not here this evening, but Ms. Wanda Smith will be speaking for Human Resources tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, and welcome, Mr. Childress. In your packet or on board docs, you will see the first memorandum. It talks about recruiting. We are in the midst of recruiting efforts. The list is what we have scheduled so far. It actually has been updated as well to include the dates for Bridgewater College as well as the University of Lynchburg. I see Old Dominion's listed twice, and we're waiting to hear from Virginia Union. That is a new addition, one that we have not gone to recruiting with before. It also cites that we are holding our educational career fair on February 3rd. It will have virtual and in-person options for professional and classified positions. That information has already gone out to our local colleges, and we are starting to confirm attendance, and we will be setting up interview signups on Handshake very soon as well. Any questions about our recruiting efforts?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we generally recruit at Tech and UVA or Sweetbriar?
We do. Right now, we're just trying to set up things that they already have scheduled on their calendar. I think we have reached out to Sweetbriar, but we haven't confirmed any type of dates of where they might have a career fair set up. Some institutions we've gone to, but they have no type of agenda yet scheduled for a career fair that we can participate in. And that might change over the next several weeks.
Thank you.
Next is the update on the current vacancies for the 23-24 school year. This is the most updated information, and we are still doing interviews. Some interviews have taken place this week, so more updates will be coming in the coming weeks as we continue through that process. And lastly, you see the calendar. This was shared with you last month's meeting for your first read, and this is the latest update for your review. And if you have any questions about it, I'm available to assist.
Board, any questions on the proposed calendar? Okay.
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 Thank you very much.
So just regarding the calendar, again, we don't need decision tonight, but if you're ready, we could. If not, we'll wait until February. And if you have any questions between now and then, we'll be glad to answer them. But we do need probably at the February board meeting to finalize a calendar, if not tonight.
Okay. What's the privilege of the board? Would you like to wait, or is anybody ready to go ahead and approve?
I would like to wait till February,
Okay.
just personally.
Anyone else? Does that cause any problems? Okay. Wait.
If you have any questions during the month, please feel free to reach out so we can answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
Student reps.
Yep.
So next we have our student reps. I'll turn it over to them.
Good evening, school board members and Mr. Chair. My life has been pretty busy recently. Welding is still going super well. I've checked on some of the other classes other than the one that I'm in, and from what I've seen and heard, everyone in the course is overall excelling very well in their work and in the course. In show choir, we are still working hard on our competition pieces, and we're super excited for the fast approaching season to begin. Don't forget, we have our preview night on February 20th at 7 p.m. We're also beginning to learn our spring concert and all-county repertoire. Along with this, I have also been working on college material. Recently, the FAFSA form has been released, and our Lancer Center is providing a FAFSA night on February 1st to help out any seniors file their FAFSA. The Amherst Theater will be presenting the Beauty and the Beast for their spring musical, and auditions are held at the end of this month, and we are all very excited for this musical. They're also presenting their Black Box murder mystery, Margaret's Deception, on February 7th through the 10th at 7 p.m. The second annual community dinner is coming up on January 25th. This event, sponsored by Iron Lifes and the ACPS EF, is a great opportunity for Amherst to show up and come together as a community. The construction at the high school is also still going well. The back of the school definitely looks a lot different, and it's just cool to see the process gradually move along. Obviously, there hasn't been much school since the last school board meeting, so there wasn't but so much I could update y'all on. So me and Jonathan and Mr. Crawford decided we kind of wanted to talk to y'all and update y'all on some of the elementary schools around the county, which we know that Temperance Elementary School is going to be holding a spelling bee next Wednesday, and I'm sure they're getting real excited about that, and it's a great opportunity for the students and staff members and parents. And Jonathan and myself are also working on visiting some of the elementary schools and middle schools to check out the student life there and just update y'all on what is any of their concerns or any of their positivity that they want us to approach y'all about at upcoming school board meetings. But other than that, that's all I have, and thank you.
Good evening. I know I missed the previous meeting before break, but I'm glad to be back in front of you all tonight. I hope everyone had an amazing break and everyone is ready to kickstart the last semester of the school year. Life has definitely been speeding up for the seniors lately as application deadlines have been closing in. So all the seniors have just been busy at work trying to get FAFSA form done and just get their applications in. Winter sports are coming to an end. Track is entering districts and regionals here very soon. So just wanted to wish the qualified runners the best of luck moving forward with their postseason. Wrestling is also starting to come to an end. We know the postseason will be coming up soon for that. Our swim team, their season is coming to an end. Unfortunately, they missed out on their senior night, which was supposed to be the other night when we had the weather day. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. And then as far as the elementary schools, Central Elementary is having a family game night on January 18th as a part of their literacy and reading specialist activities. So that'll be great for the community to get involved in on that night. And then, like she already stated, we are both excited to get out to some of the schools in the area just to see and get an inside look at the everyday learning environment for the young students. So that's all I have for you guys tonight.
Great. Board, anything for our student reps? Lillian, I did have a quick question for you. You said there was something on this February 20th, a preview. What was that?
Oh, it's show choir's preview night.
Show choir, okay.
Yes, it's when we present our show that we've been working on all year, both Amarecos and Bells.
Gotcha. And is there a date yet for the Beauty and the Beast? Do you know when that is?
Probably, but I haven't seen it
Okay.
yet.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Board?
I'd just like to say what a novel idea to visit the elementary schools to get their input and to bring that back to us. So kudos to you and Mr. Crawford or whoever came up with that idea. I'm looking forward to seeing what you bring back to us. And did you get your resources that were a little slack last month?
I believe so.
All right. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Dr. Wells?
Superintendent matters. Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, next we have superintendent matters. I want to start with talking about an issue we've been seeing, in our discipline hearings, and that's the vaping issue and some succession programs we're trying to work on. So I will be going out to the elementary school to talk to 3rd through 5th graders here in the next month or so, just talking about vaping and the issues associated with that. As you know, we had some elementary students with some of the THC vapes that we had to address. So we need to make sure, one, our students are aware of what it is and the consequences for the behavior, but also aware of the dangers of that. So I'll be doing myself and one of the SROs, and maybe Ms. Petrone will go out, Dr. Petrone will go out with us. We'll be talking to the elementary schools a little bit about that, just for a few minutes, talking to the students in the 3rd through 5th grade. So just a little bit more awareness there. Governor's budget, as Ms. LaConnet said earlier, the governor's budget has been presented. It is probably going to be the least favorable of the budgets that are presented this year through the General Assembly. At the VAST conference, we had the chair of the House Education Committee as well as the chair of the Senate Education Committee speak to us on Monday. And they both were stating that they intend for their budgets out of the House and Senate to be more favorable than the governor's budget. We don't know how favorable that's going to be, but we're going to build ours, as Ms. O'Connor said, off of the governor's, and then anything extra is great. So we're going to see how that works. But we're starting to build the budget now based off the calc tool, and we'll have more for you as that progresses. But we do anticipate. The superintendents do anticipate that the budget from the House and Senate will be slightly more favorable than the governor's proposed budget. So more to come on that. Mr. Conjure, anything you want to add budget-wise? Okay, all right. Funding sources, just know that a lot of the ESSER and a lot of our stimulus funds are going away. They've been spent down. So as we build our spending plans moving forward, we're back, all the so-called free money is gone, and now we're into just the regular budget money funds that we've had. So some of those things that we've been able to do in the past with some other programs and things like that, those are going to be going away. So just know we're spending those down, and Ms. O'Connor again provides those reports to you on a regular basis. Reminder, your statement of economic interest forms are due. It's a pain, I know. I have to do mine as well. I've been putting it off. But I think the 31st is February 1st is the deadline, and there's a $250 fine if we're late. So let's make sure we get it done by February 1st and get it turned in. So, I have to do mine too. So I'm sorry. That's all I can say. If you did it before and you saved your copy last year, if not much has changed in your status, then you should be able to just use that as a base and move forward. The community dinner is scheduled for January 25th at 6 p.m. at the Madison Heights Recreation Center. We have 163 people that have signed up so far. We're capping it around 200. So I encourage you to try to attend that evening. It's going to be a good evening. And again, we're at 163, so I think it's looking good. Hopefully we'll have good weather. Reminder, next week, a week from tonight, we have our professional development training, and that's going to include the FOIA. Mr. Wright is going to do your FOIA training. I will go over to conflict of interest training that we have to do, and then there'll be some more professional development. One reminder is for you as we get into this is I need goals from the board, and now that we have the board elections are complete and everybody in place, I need the board to start thinking about what goals you have for me so I can incorporate those goals into my plan so I can meet your goals as we move forward. So just be thinking about that, and we can discuss that more some next week as well. Questions so far?
Anything, board?
Okay. The VAST conference, again, the VAST conference I attended, I was there Sunday through Tuesday. It was a good conference. It was more on the legislative conference, legislative ideas that are taking place, and talking to folks on what that's going to look like. I did present at the board, so I was at the meeting, so I was able to get in front of everybody and do the Ignite presentation, and I focused on our Show Up Amherst initiative. So I was able to speak on that and got through it, so we're good. No, I didn't get pulled off the stage, so I guess I made it okay. And so, but the conference was informative. Ms. Laconich was able to join us from the VASBO side of it, for the finance side of it, and we were able to have some conversation there regarding the budget process and how we're moving forward there. Again, the budget, they're just starting, the General Assembly session just started, so I think over the next couple of weeks, there'll be a lot of moving going on and a lot of moving and shaking in there. A third of all of the representatives are new. So a third of everybody in the House of Delegates are new this year because of how they redistrict, and some people didn't run, some retired, and so forth. So it's going to be an interesting session. The next thing on my agenda is, at your place, there's a policy on a sick leave bank. And it is just it's a draft, it's a working draft, but we wanted to put it at your place so you could review. And I just want you to look at it. We are going to continue to review it as well, but we feel that for those under VRS sections 1 and 2, options 1 and 2 of VRS, that the sick leave bank will give some of our staff members who have, due to medical emergencies, things like that, who have expended all of their sick leave, may give them an opportunity for others to donate into the bank, and they could utilize that. It's there for you to review. If you have questions, if you have recommendations, please let us know, and we will bring it back to you. We're going to tweak it some more because there are things we feel we need to tweak as well. This is the working draft. It's not anywhere near a final, but we want you to have it now so you can kind of see it, and if you have recommendations towards that, you can let us know, and we'll continue to work on it from our end too, and hopefully have a final, so to speak, draft to you at the February board meeting. Okay. The mental health grant, some good news. We've been awarded approximately $319,000 on a mental health grant to the Department of Behavioral Health. I'm going to ask Dr. Petrone to speak on that here in a minute, but we'll share more with you next month. We just were notified last week that we received it, and they're still finalizing some of the details of the grant, but Dr. Petrone, I'll ask her to speak for a few seconds on the grant.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. We are very excited to have this opportunity. So we applied for this grant back in December, and it's a pretty quick turnaround. We hope to have the contract signed in the next couple days with the Department of Behavioral Health, and then we'll receive the money, and then we have to spend all of the money by June 30th. So that's a very quick turnaround. But what it's going to do for us is allow us to help our community partners to boost up their salaries to attract better qualified and more effective staff, and more staff just in general, to help support our students with mental health needs. So we're hopeful that we can get that going just as quick as we can and get more day treatment support, more counseling support for our kids. And we also have the opportunity to buy some evidence-based programs, including one that's called Signs of Suicide, which does exactly what it says. It helps people identify signs that someone may be thinking about suicide, and we'll be able to do that professional development with our staff. And it's also going to help with substance abuse. So we're going to be able to do intervention, prevention, and treatment services from this grant by using our community partners and helping them to fund positions and provide the services to our students after school. So we're very excited. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We'll give you much more information next week. There's a lot more in it, but that's the big picture.
Okay. We can't use the money ourselves. We have to push it out to our community partners, is how the grant works. So, but we'll have more for you at the February board meeting. Okay? Just want to give you an idea. We're going to do a press release about the grant. We'll get it out today or probably tomorrow morning and push that out. So I just want you to hear it from us first before we did a press release about it. So, but more to come. Next, I have and again, at your place, there's some discussion. We have an opportunity to have a position for behavior interventions and services coordinator. This is an opportunity to develop, again, this position is funded through Title VI-B. Currently, we spend about $150,000 each year in contracted services. We have determined that we can hire somebody for between salary and benefits around $90,000, $90,000 to $95,000. So we'd be saving around $55,000 to $60,000 if we had our own position as opposed to utilizing contracted services. This is all funds we currently have as funds that are currently allocated. What I would like to do would be to advertise this position and see if we can find this person as opposed to using contracted services where they're charging us all the overhead and everything else for contracted services. We can provide this. And it would also allow us to have this person under our control. We can assign them to other responsibilities and duties as needed to meet the needs of our students as opposed to them just specifically working on what the contract states through contracted services. So it'll allow us more flexibility there. And I'll have Dr. Petrone speak to that a little bit as well.
You said mostly everything I was going to say. So this will allow us to meet the needs of our students. Right now, the contracted services are supporting just students with IEPs who have the services written into their plans. But now we'll be able to support students who don't have that. We can have this person go when there's a crisis happening and they can respond immediately. And they'll also be available to help support teachers who are having trouble with like behavior management in their classrooms, or do professional development surrounding behavior. So this is Mr. Neighbor's idea. I'm not trying to steal his thunder. This is all his stuff. I'm just in the loop on what's going on. So.
And this will have a positive impact on our budget as opposed to a negative impact on our budget. Again, it will save us between $55,000 and $60,000 a year in that arena. So I would like to move forward and advertise the position. Just consensus of the board, if y'all are okay with that. Okay.
Board?
Mr. Childers, thank you.
A quick question. So I'm assuming you've evaluated that you think one person can really handle all the responsibilities that you're currently contracting out?
Yeah.
Would you use some of the additional funding in case that wasn't the case and you would still need to use some of those funds for contracted services?
We would still be able to use those other funds for as we see fit, but this would give us the opportunity to reallocate those funds in areas that may support our students in a better way as well. Okay, so we'll move forward. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And my screen just died on my computer. Hang on a second. One more note I want to hit. I want to make sure I say what I was going to say. I know. All right. Finally, I should have remembered this one. February 8th is our next board meeting. That is taking place at Manellison. That is School Board Appreciation. I know Mr. Goldman is not looking forward to sitting up the gym and all the stuff at Manellison for this meeting. However, for space purposes, what we're going to do there, we'll have School Board Appreciation Month, we'll have Teacher of the Year recognition, we'll have Staff Support of the Year recognitions, we'll have a lot of recognitions at that meeting as well, and then some students are going to perform for the board as well. So we'll have all that there. We just needed a big enough space because this space right here is not large enough to have all those people in this time we have. So just wanted to remind you of that. Other than that, I think that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Okay. Board, anything for Dr. Wells? Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. So moving on next, we have committee reports and individual school board members. Before we get into that, I would like to welcome David Childress to our board tonight. Congratulations, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. And with that, you get to start off our reports. So, welcome.
Awesome. Don't really have any reports at this time other than say I am excited to be a member of the board. I'm honored that the community has given me the responsibility to be a part of the board, and I'm looking forward to serving, being a member of the team. And I'm excited to hear so much about students. That's why we want to be a part of this, is to help our community and help our students get the best opportunities they can. And to hear the student recognitions at the beginning, I think that's a wonderful thing to have in school board meetings, and to hear our student reps and to hear their voice as students, and to have them be a part of it is outstanding. And I'm just looking forward to being a part and helping where I can.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Saunders.
I'm going to say thank you to Mr. Childress for coming in and being on the end.
He goes first?
Help where I can.
That's right. Well, welcome. Congratulations to all the students of the month. It is great to see them all lined up, and it's nice recognition. Mrs. Wheeler and Ms. Cecil, thank you for giving the teachers and administrators the flexibility to use whichever platform works for their kids. It's nice to see that we meet our kids where they need to be, and then we help guide them to where they need to go. You know, from a mom who had a son who had those issues and those learning disabilities, it really does warm my heart, so thank you. Mr. Ryan, good job. That was a lot of work. I see you back there. And Mr. Goldman, the EDA, I know you're listening. The IT closet could really use some help. If you want to, subcontract out, I'd be happy to have you down there. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Rossi.
Yeah, we're starting out the year, I think, in a positive direction. Every month we have an opportunity to recognize those students. And I know we're recognizing the students, but the teachers, the parents, the grandparents, the guardians, the people that are raising those students to be good people in the community and highlighting their qualities is definitely the highlight of the meeting, I believe. It goes the whole support group for what brought those students forward and let them stand out. And I think it's important that we continue this process of recognizing achievement. I mean, they're the future. If we can support them in any way and get them recognized and moving forward and inspire other students to go for that goal, I think it's a great thing to have, and a reminder every month, because some meetings get a little gloomy, and it's nice to have that. Also, congratulations, Ms. Terry, Board Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Abby, congratulations. Welcome, our new elected members. And I'm looking forward to our 25th dinner. I think that's going to be a good thing. Plan on showing up for that, because even if it is weather, I can walk. I'm literally right down the street. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's pretty much what I have tonight.
Great. Thank you, sir. Ms. Ligon.
Well, I did told you everything. Happy New Year, and I was telling Abby it's kind of hard to believe we're in a new year already, and just about done finished January up. Welcome, Ms. Childress, and congratulations to you. Oh yeah, sorry, Mr. Porter. Got it. Congratulations to all the newly elected people all around the area. And I think we're going to have a busy time. We got a lot of good things that's going to be going on, and I'm looking forward to everything. Thanks, everybody, for all the updates and the bridges information, and things are just rolling. Y'all are busy as bees, but that's what we're trying to do, is get these kids educated in the best way, meet them where we can, like you said. So I'm excited about that. I look forward again. Thank you for letting me continue with Laurel. We have some good work we're doing over there. As the General Assembly comes into session, already in session, as the new bills are thrown out there, we can surely check our email every day. Mr. Kessler keeps us involved of what's going on in Richmond from a school standpoint, so we'll be watching that as the weeks go along. But other than that, I'm just glad for all of the Amherst representatives for Lancerland keeping us informed. And like Abby said, I love that idea of finding out what the elementary schools need from us, and we don't want them to feel left out. So y'all just bring all their little wants and wish lists right on up here to us, and we'll be more than excited. But with that, that's all I have to say. We're looking forward to a holiday on Monday, but let us remember the great workings of Dr. King as we celebrate Monday while we're off, a day of service. And so, great leader for all people. So with that, Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I'd like to express my appreciation for Donald Wayne and the work he's done for us over the years. Also like to extend condolences to his family and the family of Christy Bartholomew. It was sometimes, it's just such hard times, and we count all of the people we have in our staff and how much they mean to us, and to know that we lose them. And so just want to take time to remember them and to say thank you. I would also like to thank the board for allowing me to be vice chair for one more year. I have enjoyed it, feel like, we've worked well together, and look forward to the next year. And congratulations again. Welcome, Mr. Childress. Look forward to working with you. I was excited to hear about the behavioral intervention grant. I mean, at a time that we really need that. So just thank y'all for reaching out and writing the grants and finding the money. It seems like lately y'all have been doing a wonderful job with searching and been successful. So thank you. That's not easy. And I want to just take time to say to the instructional staff, to all of our staff, bus drivers, cafeteria, thank you for a wonderful job for first semester. And, we've turned the corner now. We're in semester 2, and it seems like it goes so quickly. You get through a few snow calls and a few snow days, then all of a sudden the grass grows green and you realize, oh my goodness, school year's over and graduation's here. So I just want to say that we're on the home stretch already, and it's hard to believe, and there's so much work to be done. So just want to thank y'all for the hard work, for the work that the teachers do in the classroom every day, and for what they'll be doing for second semester. So, work hard, let's bring it home, and come May. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. So I'll start off with Mr. Porter. Thank you for the words of encouragement and showing up like you do every meeting. We need some alignment from you every now and then, and we need your support too. So thank you very much. The Students of the Month, that's why we do what we do. I like to hear, I'm not saying that they're not, but I like to hear they're not all honor roll students. We don't have to recognize just the honor roll students. We want to produce good citizens. We want these kids to come out of school and just be top-notch citizens. I don't have to have straight A's. I just need top-notch students citizens when they come out of here. I was glad to see as I'm driving up 29, I can look up and I can see the backside of the high school and areas cleared off and new parking lot going in. I have to admit, I haven't driven down and seen where you've torn up the back parking lot yet, but I see the photos, and it's exciting stuff. And I too learned to drive in that back parking lot. So you see those things go, and it kind of hits you at home. The bridge project, hands-on learning. I wish we'd had more of it when I was in high school. I would learn better that way, to sit and hear somebody just preach science and math and English and whatever. Yeah, you absorb some of it, but when you actually apply it and do it, you don't even realize you're learning, and that's a great thing. So love seeing those projects and hearing how the kids are interacting with it and how they are accepting it. That's a great thing. I'm looking forward to that community dinner because I was there last year. It was a great time. It was a great night for everybody to be out and mingle with our fellow school boards, our fellow people from the community. It is a pretty good time. So, let's see. I do have I just got an update that the Beauty and the Beast will actually be April 11th through the 13th. So, thank you, sir. I've got that on my calendar already. And Mr. Goldman, he's not here right now, but the cleaning up of those closets, that's eating the elephant one bite at a time. Those things are overwhelming when you look at them. I've seen that, but it's one piece at a time. And for our next meeting, we're having it at Monellison. I know 4 years ago when I joined the board, we were doing meetings at every one of the schools, and then COVID hit. So we hit, I think, maybe we hit Monellison, and then we hit the high school, and then the world went, you know what, okay. So, but Lillian and John, thank you guys for reporting out to us. you reminded me, I have to do the FAFSA one more time. This is my 10th straight FAFSA, not looking forward to it at all. But hang in there. Thank you for everything you report to us, and we love hearing your perspective on things. So thanks for all the good work. So, and that's about it for me. Thank you very much. Okay. There is no closed session tonight, board, so
I make a motion that we adjourn.
there you go.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.